The reducer and the unblocker. The real work is what you remove. Perfection is achieved not when there is nothing more to add, but when there is nothing left to take away. Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. Most people think creativity is an act of addition. If a song isn't landing, add more instruments. If a piece of writing feels thin, add more words. If an idea isn't sticking, add more complexity. We're conditioned to believe that more is always the solution. But the truth is, most things come to us already crowded. Too many layers, too many expectations, too many assumptions about what something should be. The core, the living, breathing heart of the thing is usually buried under noise. I once met someone who called himself the Reducer. When he talked about his work, his eyes brightened in this quiet, knowing way, like he was describing an old friend finally arriving home. His job wasn't to decorate or embellish. His job was to excavate. With music, he said, everyone wants to pile things on. 4 guitar tracks, a small army of backing vocals, strings, synths, effects stacked like sandbags. He shook his head gently. But if you ask the right question, what's the song really saying? You usually discover the answer is something simple, a voice and a guitar, a truth and a pulse. And then he said something that landed in my chest with the weight of a stone dropped into deep water. Most of the time, all that extra stuff is decoration. Sometimes worse, it's camouflage. It hides the fact that the core isn't strong enough yet. Reduction, he explained, is only half the job. The deeper work is unblocking. Every creator carries blockers rarely obvious, often powerful. They're the invisible walls standing between us and our most honest work. And the cruel trick is that we usually can't see them. They've lived inside us for so long, they feel like just the way things are. He listed them out like he'd seen them 1,000 times. I always do it this way. That's just my style. Fear of trying something new. This part has to stay, the audience expects it. Trying to please ghosts. I can't talk about that, it's too personal. Which usually means it's the exact thing that needs to be said. This isn't good enough yet. Perfection masquerading as fear of simplicity. He didn't look for problems in the sound alone. He watched the artist. He listened for what was missing as much as what was there. He noticed the moments they lit up without meaning to. The places where something felt defended, forced, overbuilt. The lines they dismissed too quickly. The ideas they clung to too tightly. And then he asked questions. Not to lead, but to open a window. Why does this part feel different? What were you thinking when you wrote that line? What happens if we remove this completely? The wild thing is this. The artist always knows the answer. Deep down, they know the truth. They know what's not working. They know where the fear is. They know what needs to go. They just haven't had permission to say it aloud. That's the room I try to create, he said. A room where someone can finally admit, I don't think this is working. Or, I've been afraid to try it this other way. Or, I included this because I thought I was supposed to, not because it feels true. Once the blocker is named, it loses its power. It becomes small, almost harmless. Removing it becomes a relief, not a battle. It feels like returning to yourself. My magic isn't what I add, he told me. It's what I help them take away. The courage to be simple, to be direct, to trust that what remains, the essential thing, is enough. Then he looked at me and said, with the work you do, it's the same principle. You will feel the temptation to add more ideas, more polish, more impressive language. You'll want to show how much you know. But the real work might be subtraction. Asking, what can I remove? What's the one truth I'm trying to say? What's the most honest, unperformed way to say it? Strip away everything that performs. everything that tries to sound wise or poetic or profound. Get down to the raw truth, the thing you'd tell a friend at 3 in the morning when the masks fall away. That's where the power is. That's where the work becomes real. That's where the soul comes through. Because reduction isn't minimalism. Unblocking isn't therapy. Both are acts of truth-telling. And the deepest truths rarely arrive dressed in layers. They arrive bare, simple, unafraid, and enough.